Hey, it's Joey from Channel 9, and welcome to TechEd Europe in Amsterdam, where Brad Anderson has just come off stage for the keynote here at TechEd Europe 2012. You're going to want to stick around if you're watching from home. We've got a lot of great content coming up over the next 2 days. Today, we've got the Learn Windows Azure event. We're going to go to Scott Guthrie upstairs. He's going to kick off with his foundational session on Windows Azure. Also going to have Mark Russinovich with us as well, and an entire day of Learn Windows Azure content today. Now tomorrow, we're going to be live right here from the Convention Center here in Amsterdam to talk all day long with all sorts of great stuff. We've got your favorite shows like Ping Live. We've got a great security panel with Mark Russinovich, Going Native Live with Charles Torrey. We're going to be here all day tomorrow, so you're going to want to check into that live feed right at Channel 9 and make sure you get your questions to us. Interact with us. It's hashtag CH9Live. Get those questions in. You can check out the schedule posted right on the homepage of Channel 9. Get all of those questions lined up and gear to go so that when your favorite speaker comes up, you can ask him everything you need to know. And so coming directly off the stage, running right to me, Corporate Vice President Brad Anderson.
Hey, it's good to be here, Joey.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
We usually give you at least a minute to get off the stage, but today we thought we'd throw a challenge into it, right, Brad?
Yeah.
So great keynote.
That was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun, absolutely. A lot of things that we kind of talked about. It's a kind of this overarching story. So I want to kind of dive a little bit deeper and talk into each one of the, kind of the categories you talked about. The one thing that I have a question, and I asked Jeffrey about this, Jeffrey Snover, when we talked to him in Orlando.
Mr. PowerShell.
Yep, exactly. We talk about the cloud operating system. What does a cloud operating system really mean? For me, I'm having a hard time getting my hands around it.
Yeah. You think about how we've built Windows for decades. Windows was built to run on a single server. It managed the hardware, presented an application interface or platform that really was a single server operating system. In the cloud, the services run on lots of servers, and you have to have an operating system that understands how to operate across multiple servers and make that all look as one. Whether that's 2 servers or whether that's hundreds of thousands. In our data centers, like with the Bing service, that's hundreds of thousands of servers that actually look as one and feel as one. And so it's all about taking this world, as the world is moving to the cloud, moving to services that run across multiple servers, bringing together compute, storage, and network, building that all into the native operating system, and then building a great application later on top of it, and that's the Cloud OS.
So with that, and you talk about this internet scale, right?
Yeah.
Basically building for the internet. I'm probably not running in an organization that has the amount of power that we're running in some of our systems. What do I have to think about? I mean, do I really have to look at this cloud-enabled system and build these world-class scale, even though I'm not ever probably going to get there?
Yeah, independent of the size of the organization, what we encourage people is to think big and learn about how the big organizations have built their clouds. Organizations that have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of servers. Take that knowledge and experience and bring that into your data center, no matter how big or small it is. But a couple of examples I think are really interesting. We have a couple of organizations we're working with right now that are kind of like 10, 15 employees, but yet they have millions of consumers using their service. And so, they have got to have a service that scales to these kinds of numbers, even though the company itself is incredibly tiny. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's about the size of the company. It's about how broadly do you think your services and capabilities are going to be used. But then I would also say, every one of us in IT have had the situation where we built a service with a certain set of expectations about how it would be used, and inevitably it gets used a lot more than what we thought. So if you build your services in a way that you're thinking about, having that flexibility to expand on demand, then you're using a cloud OS. The other thing I would say is we all know that the majority of servers in organizations' data centers are sitting below 10% in utilization.
Right.
So the virtualization world is all about packing more of that into one server and taking that utilization up. But now you want to move into a cloud world where these services can be moved dynamically across servers, high availability, zero downtime. And that really is about marrying a great operating system with great management. So in that cloud world, it's all about bringing Windows Server and System Center together. And with that, you get a private cloud, but it also enables you to have what we call a cloud without boundaries, which integrates with your service providers and integrates with Azure and gives you that capacity on demand.
You have a great point there, and you talked about it in your slide, this ability just to kind of, it's seamless, right? Yeah. We don't always know. I mean, you mentioned it, you never know when you build that application. I can give you an example. We built an Access 2.0 application, and not intending it to go anywhere, but all of a sudden became, like, it had to be the main production application. today's world, right? You don't know when that next big thing is really going to pop up in that connected world. I love this concept that you talk about these applications and these services that you're going to start probably in your own data center, your own dev team. They're going to start working, but when that thing needs to scale up and move up, you move it around, shift it around, and then you can even bring it back.
Yeah, and we're actually seeing both. You know, we're seeing a bunch of companies had built applications running inside their data centers, they move into the cloud. There's a lot of well-known examples right now in the industry where an organization started in the public cloud and then hit a certain amount of scale, and they wanted to bring it back into their private cloud because they actually felt they could build a private cloud that was more efficient for them and gave them a little bit more control. So, but it's all about that flexibility. And so the promise from Microsoft is we're saying, listen, we will promise you that you'll have a consistent set of capabilities in the public cloud, in the service provider cloud, in a private cloud. And we'll do our job of making sure that that consistent experience and that consistent set of capabilities is there so you have that flexibility.
All right, so we've talked about kind of that cloud operating system. You've talked about Azure. I have to go to my notes here just because you talked about in 1999. This stat completely blew me away.
Yeah, me too.
Why don't you give it? It's not going to do it any justice for me to read it. Why you this 1999 statistic?
Yeah, you know, I was talking about these incredible services and the Azure platform that Microsoft runs. The amount of compute capacity that we have in just Azure, okay, not the rest of our services, but just in Azure is commensurate or equal to all of the compute capacity that existed in all the world's data centers in 1999.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And that's just Windows Azure. We've got other services with Bing and Hotmail.
Yeah, 200 other services.
Yeah.
You know, and then I also gave that data point about storage. There's so much storage in Azure that we could give 10 megabytes to every single individual in China and still have storage left.
It's
a lot of big numbers.
It is a lot of big numbers. We talk about Windows Azure today, and Mark came out and did a couple of really great demos talking about the enablement with Windows Azure Virtual Machines and virtual networking. The challenge that a lot of people are having is that when we start spreading out of our services, when we in IT start looking at this and we go, how do we manage this?
Yeah.
How do we deal with this?
Yeah.
And then the other piece is, when my data goes up there, is it stuck?
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a couple things. I think there's a couple things at play. I think a lot of IT individuals get a little bit nervous about, you know, hey, if people start using the public cloud, they're kind of going around me. It's not on that infrastructure that I've built. One of the things you're talking about that Mark showed is this concept we call an app controller. And it's all about bringing all the cloud capacity that an organization may need in one place. Okay, so IT can now be a cloud broker and basically bring all the different clouds, whether it's from a service provider, from Windows Azure, their private cloud capabilities together, put some management around it, but then give the users, the organization, whether it be development or a line of business, full rights inside of that capability. So they get all the agility, all the rights that they have to have. If you don't give that to them, they'll just go around you. But it also puts some control around it so that IT can manage the compliance and the security and the protection, to your point, make sure that the right things are happening to protect those company assets.
It's really kind of a fundamental shift that we have in IT, right? We are the gods of saying no. I mean, I'm speaking from pure experience, you know, it's like, this is my world. The first answer is no. And then you have to get convinced that it's actually worth deploying. Now it's changing because the world, I mean, the reality is these applications have to be built and deployed faster so the businesses can be more agile. Now, IT has to respond to that. Hey, look, we'll let you go ahead and build these applications, but we are still going to do the same things that we've done. This is one of the things that I got from this, the same things IT has always done. We deploy, manage, and monitor applications and ensure that they're up according to the service levels. We now have the tools that enable us to do it, whether it's within my own data center and beyond.
Yeah, you know, if you don't say yes, the business will just go around you.
Yeah.
That actually is what's happening today. You know, without exception, when I talk to organizations, they say, listen, you know what, dev and test, look at how easy it was to go and build an application on Azure. It was a couple clicks of the mouse and that application was up and running. In fact, one of the tweets, you know, that came out was, I don't know that I want it to be this easy. This enables development just to go around me. You know, because it's just so simple. These individuals and teams want agility, they want flexibility, they want speed, they want to take advantage of the latest development capabilities. That's all in Azure. That's all in these public cloud. And so you say yes, but put some control around it, some of the boundaries that you have to make sure that things are protected and the assets are secure, but still give the organizations, the teams that require that kind of agility, you have to give it to them. And that's what we've done with System Center and Azure and Windows Server.
A couple more points because we just have a few minutes and I've got to get you out of here. You did a demo on stage.
Yeah.
And you talked about this whole ownership and control and governance piece.
Yep.
In regards to not just the big applications and things that we have to manage in IT,
But the
but
devices.
for our devices and our users.
Yeah.
That's really kind of a fundamental shift again there,
is.
right? Because when I worked in IT, all I did, I bought a device, I controlled the device, I handed the device, and I got it back. Now, folks are coming with the devices in their pockets.
That's right. And you know what? The world of management of these devices historically has been, you join Active Directory, we push an agent down, and that device is controlled.
Yep.
In these new devices, first of all, you can't do that. Okay, in these modern devices that are coming out, you actually can't put an agent down onto them, and everything has to be user invoked. There's no push concept. Everything has to be initiated by the user, and then finally, users are just not going to accept that in the future. They want to bring their devices in, but they're not going to be comfortable with IT putting a great big agent down there and controlling that device. They've got personal data. It's a very personal thing. And so we've had to reimagine what management means in this modern device, this user-controlled device world. And so we put in these concepts we call governance. So we have control and, it's an and, control and governance. And it's all about putting the control scenarios where that's appropriate and putting the governance scenarios where that is appropriate. And the point I was trying to make is I think the majority of the future, as you look out 1, 2, 5 years, you're going to be having more user-controlled devices entering most organizations than corporate-controlled devices. Because most users have multiple devices, and they want to be productive on all of them. And so with what we have built in terms of with System Center and with Windows Intune, and we'll be bringing those things closer and closer together over time, is that concept of control and governance.
Awesome. Brad, it's great having you here as always. Thanks for coming running off the stage with your drinking head. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Folks,
Joey.
you're going to want to stick around for Channel 9. We are going up to learn Windows Azure for the rest of the day, but join us tomorrow. Get those tweets in, #CH9Live. We're here in Amsterdam, TechEd Europe 2012. Stay tuned.